These are the instructions for the crisscross headband, which is the headband that's used by people who have had brain surgery and don't want their entire heads covered. And this is what it looks like when it's done. It's just a regular headband, see? And it's got a main section and two borders. And the way that the headband is made is first you do the main section and then you add the borders on either side. And this is made using single crochets, double crochets, slip stitches, and chains. And if you'll notice, you'll see that there are these X patterns in the center section. And really all that is are crisscrossed double crochets. And I will show you how to do that. So I'm using Caron Simply Soft and the recommended size G crochet hook. So the first thing that you want to do is, I've decided I'm going to use pink and green, something funky. And I'm going to make the middle section first, and I'm going to use pink for the middle section and use green as my border. So the way that you start is, as always, you make a slip stitch to put on your crochet hook, and then you proceed to make 65 chains, and of course that's the basic chain right there. So I'm going to make 65 of these. So that's 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I've completed 65 chains as they tell us to do. And the next step then is to connect this chain so that you're actually forming the band onto which you're going to be crocheting. So you've got all of these stitches. You want to make sure that your chains are all facing out in the right direction. And if you look at this, you can see that this is kind of what you may want to call the right side of the chain. You've got these V's. The wrong side of the chain looks like that. So you want to make sure all your V's are facing out. So when all your V's are facing out and your yarn is not twisted, you're going to slip stitch into the first chain that you made, which means you're just going to pull the yarn through and pull it through again. So it's done, connected. And then you're going to, the next instruction is you're going to chain one. You're going to single crochet in the same chain and in each chain around. And then at the end of the row, you are going to join with a slip stitch to this first single crochet that you're doing now. Okay, so you're going to chain one, and they tell you to single crochet in the same chain. So I'm going to single crochet in the same chain. Oops, it's a little tough because it's kind of the establishing row. Okay, and in each chain around, so that was one. So I'm going to single crochet in each chain around. Now you're establishing that first row. And when you get back to the beginning here, this first single crochet, you are going to do a slip stitch here. So I'm going to continue making that single crochet in each chain all the way around. Okay, so I've done my single crochet in the chain stitch all the way around. And what you want to do before you connect using a slip stitch is you just want to run your hand around and make sure that your stitches are all going in the same direction and that you're not twisted. Okay, so now I'm going to connect to the beginning with a slip stitch in the first single crochet. That was round one. Round two is very similar. It's chain one, single crochet in the same stitch, and in each single crochet round and join with a slip stitch. The only difference is that now you're doing a single crochet in an actual single crochet. Before you were doing a single crochet in the chain. Okay, so I'm going to chain one, and they say single crochet in the same stitch and in each single crochet around. So I'm going to single crochet in the stitch that I just did and in each stitch around. And when I get back to the beginning here, I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. So just remember that a traditional single crochet goes underneath both of these loops. You can see these two loops. Sometimes instructions will specifically tell you go only under the first loop or use only the back loop, but if they don't specify that, then a single crochet goes underneath both loops, and you insert the hook, pull up a loop, you've got two on the needle on the hook, you pull through again, and that's a single crochet. And you're going to do that all the way around. This is round 2. Okay, so I have just about completed the second round of single crochets, and I'm going to join that with a slip stitch into that first single crochet that I made. Okay, so we're up to row 3 now. Now I just want to take a minute to go over the pattern again. So we just did 2 rows of single crochet. It's hard to see here because there's a border, but there are 2 rows of single crochet. Then there's this X pattern row. Then there'll be another single crochet row, another X pattern row, another single crochet row, X, single crochet, and then 2 more rows of single crochet. And then we put the border on. But basically, it's 2 rows of single crochet on either end, and I'm only talking about this center color, not the border. There are 2 rows of single crochet on either end, here and here, and in between, you've got a row of single crochet. You've got a row of the X stitch with single crochet, X stitch, single crochet, X stitch, single crochet. Okay, so we finished these first 2 single crochet rows, so now we're up to row 3, which is the X stitch, or cross stitch. So the first thing that you're going to do is do 2 chains, 1, 2, and this does not count as a stitch. The next thing you're going to do is an X stitch, but before I do the X stitch, I just want to review how to do a double crochet, because that's all the X stitch is a double crochet, but in a certain form. So double crochet involves wrapping it around your yarn, inserting your hook underneath the 2 loops, unless they tell you otherwise, but it's 2 loops for this pattern. Bring the hook back. Now, unlike a single crochet where you usually have 2 loops on here, now you have 3. So you draw the yarn through 2 loops, and that leaves you with 2, and you draw the yarn through the other 2 loops, and you're done. So again, you wrap the yarn around, you insert your hook underneath both loops, you pull the yarn through. You've got 3 stitches on there. Pull the yarn through 2, pull the yarn through 2. You're done. And you can see that it's taller. It's much a taller stitch than the single crochet. So one more time, you wrap the yarn around, you insert the hook under 2 loops, you pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through 2 loops, pull the yarn through 2 loops, and you're done. Okay, so I'm going to take those out, and we still have those 2 chains that we made. So in order to make the X stitch, all you're going to do is skip a stitch, do the double crochet in the next stitch, and then come back and do a double crochet in the first stitch, and it's going to create an X. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around. I'm going to skip the next stitch. Now you can see that I already used this one, so that's not the one I want. And I don't want this one either because I'm skipping this one. So it's the next stitch, which is this one. Wrap my yarn around, put it in, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through 2 loops, pull the yarn through 2 more loops, and that's 1 double crochet. Now I'm going to go back to this one that I skipped, and I'm going to put a double crochet in that stitch. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around, insert my hook under the 2 loops, pull the yarn through. I've got 3 on the hook, pull the yarn through 2, pull the yarn through 2, and I've created an X stitch because it's crisscrossed in front of the other because we skipped a stitch and then went back. Okay, and the rest of the row is exactly the same thing. So I'm going to skip the next stitch. I'm going to go into the stitch after that, wrap my yarn around, do a double crochet, and then I'm going to go back to the stitch that I skipped and do a double crochet there. And I've created another X, so I've got 2 X's. Okay, so I'm going to do that to the rest of this row. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to do, the instructions say to do a slip stitch in this chain 2 that we did. So when we get back around there, that's what we'll do. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to continue to complete this row with the X stitch.